The lights in the medical bay were dim. It was night shift on Kepler Station, and most of the alien patients were sleeping. Hey, one walked quietly through the halls, checking on each room. Her white uniform made soft sounds as she moved from door to door. Hey, one was a human nurse. She had worked on this space station for 3 years now. Kepler Station was special. It was a place where all kinds of alien beings came for medical help. Humans, bird-like averans, crystal-skinned zeolites, and many other species all worked together here. The station floated in space between 3 different star systems. It was neutral ground. That meant no fighting was allowed here. Everyone had to follow the rules, no matter which planet they came from. Tonight felt different. Hey, one could not explain why, but something in the air made her nervous. She stopped at the window and looked out at the stars. They twinkled like tiny diamonds against the black space. Another quiet night, she said to herself. She was wrong. As Haywon walked past the disposal bay, she heard a sound. It was weak and sad, like a baby crying. She stopped and listened. The sound came again. It was coming from inside the disposal bay. The disposal bay was where the station threw away medical waste. Old bandages, broken equipment, and other things that could not be used anymore went there. No living thing should be in that room. Haywon opened the door slowly. The smell hit her right away. It was the smell of sickness and death. She covered her nose with her hand and stepped inside. The room was dark except for one small light. In the corner, behind a pile of waste containers, something moved. Hey, one walked closer. Her heart began to beat faster. There, lying on the cold metal floor, was a small dragon-like creature. It was no bigger than a house cat. Its scales were dull gray, and its eyes were half closed. The creature's breathing was slow and weak. Hey, one knew what this was. She had seen pictures in her medical books. This was a Drakmari hatchling. The Drakmari were an ancient alien race that looked like giant dragons. They were proud and powerful, but they rarely came to places like Kepler Station. The little creature looked up at her with sad golden eyes. It made a small sound, almost like a whisper. Hey, one could see that it was dying, but something was wrong with this hatchling. Its scales had strange dark spots on them. The spots looked like burn marks, but they were not from fire. Hey, one had read about this before. This was called flame sickness. Flame sickness was a genetic condition that some Drakmari babies were born with. The Drakmari people believed that hatchlings with this sickness were cursed. They thought these babies brought bad luck to their families, so they would abandon them, leaving them to die alone. Hey, one knelt down beside the tiny creature. She reached out her hand slowly. The hatchling did not try to move away. It was too weak. How did you get here, little one? She whispered. She looked around the disposal bay. Someone had thrown this baby away like garbage. The thought made her angry. No living thing should be treated this way, no matter what their people believed. Haywon knew the rules. The station had strict laws about not interfering with alien cultures. Each species had their own ways of doing things. Humans were not supposed to change or stop these practices, even if they seemed wrong. She also knew that helping this hatchling could get her in serious trouble. She could lose her job. She could even be sent to prison. The Galactic Council took these rules very seriously, but as she looked at the dying creature, none of that mattered. She was a nurse. Her job was to help heal the sick and injured. She could not just walk away and let this innocent baby die. Hey, one gently picked up the hatchling. It was surprisingly light, like holding a bird. The creature's body felt cold. Against her hands, she could feel its tiny heart beating very fast. I'm going to help you, she said softly. I don't know how, but I'm going to try. She quickly carried the hatchling to a small storage room near the medical bay. This room was rarely used at night. She made a soft bed using clean towels and placed the creature on it. The hatchling looked even worse under the bright lights. Its scales were dry and cracked. Its breathing was getting weaker. Hey, one knew she had to act fast. She went to the medical supply room and gathered what she needed. Universal healing gel, nutrient solution, and a small breathing mask that could fit the creature's tiny snout. She also took some pain medication that worked on most alien species. Back in the storage room, Haywan began to work. She had never treated a Drakmari before, but she knew the basics of xenobiology. Most living things needed similar care when they were sick. First, she cleaned the dark spots on the creature's scales with gentle antiseptic. The hatchling made small sounds of pain, but it did not try to bite or scratch her. It seemed to understand that she was trying to help. Next, she applied the healing gel to the worst spots. The gel was made from materials found on dozens of different planets. It was designed to work on any kind of skin or scale. The hardest part was getting the creature to drink the nutrient solution. The hatchling was too weak to swallow properly. One had to use a small tube to get the liquid into its stomach. As she worked, she talked to the creature in a soft voice. "You're going to be okay," she said. "You're safe now. I won't let anyone hurt you." The hatchling's eyes seemed to focus on her face. For a moment, Haywan thought she saw intelligence there. This was not just an animal. This was a person, just a very young and sick one. After 2 hours of careful work, the creature's breathing became stronger. The dark spots on its scales looked less angry. It was still very sick, but it was no longer dying. One sat back and wiped sweat from her forehead. She had done all she could for now. The rest would take time. "I'm going to call you Bitna," she said to the hatchling. "It means to shine in my language, because I think you're going to shine very brightly someday." The creature made a small sound that almost sounded like it was trying to say her name. Haywan knew she had crossed a line tonight. She had broken the most important rule of the station. But as she looked at Bitna's peaceful face, she felt no regret. She had saved a life. That was what mattered. Outside the storage room, the station continued its quiet night routine. None of the other workers knew what had happened. The security cameras in the disposal bay had been broken for weeks, so there was no record of her actions. For now, her secret was safe. But secrets on a space station never stayed hidden for long. As Haywan prepared to leave for the night, she set up a small feeding system for Bitna. She would return in a few hours to check on the hatchling. "Sleep well, little one," she whispered. "Tomorrow we'll see how much stronger you can get." She did not know that tomorrow would bring visitors she never expected. She did not know that her simple act of kindness would soon change the fate of the entire galaxy. All she knew was that she had saved one small life. Sometimes that was enough to start a revolution. 3 days had passed since Haywan found Bitna in the disposal bay. Each night she would sneak into the storage room to care for the little dragon. The hatchling was getting stronger. Its scales were becoming brighter, and it could now drink the nutrient solution without help. Haywan was amazed by how fast Bitna was healing. The dark spots from the phlegm sickness were fading. The creature's eyes were now fully alert and followed her movements around the room. Sometimes Bitna would make small chirping sounds when she arrived, as if it was happy to see her. "Good morning, little one," Haywan whispered as she entered the storage room. It was early morning, and her shift was almost over. Bitna lifted its head and made a soft trilling sound. The hatchling had grown noticeably bigger in just 3 days. It was now the size of a small dog, and its scales had a slight golden shimmer. To them, Haywan smiled as she checked the creature's vital signs. Everything looked good, too good, actually. She had never seen any patient heal this quickly before. As she was cleaning Bitna's scales, she heard footsteps in the hallway outside, heavy boots, security boots. Haywan's heart began to race. She quickly covered Bitna with a blanket and moved to the door. The footsteps stopped right outside the storage room. "I know someone's in there," came a deep voice. "This room is supposed to be empty." The door opened and Jamin stepped inside. He was a human security officer who worked the day shift. His uniform was crisp and clean, and his expression was serious. Jamin looked around the room with sharp eyes. He noticed the medical supplies on the shelf. He saw the makeshift bed on the floor. And then he saw the small bump under the blanket that was moving slightly. "What is that?" he asked, pointing at the blanket. Haywan tried to stay calm. "It's nothing. Just some old equipment I was storing." "Equipment that breathes?" Jae-min walked over to the blanket. Step aside, Hae-won. She wanted to refuse, but she knew it was too late. Jae-min was doing his job. He pulled back the blanket and stared at Bitna in shock. The little dragon looked up at him with bright golden eyes. It tilted its head as if trying to understand who this new person was. Is that ... Is that a Drakmari hatchling? Jae-min asked in a whisper. Hae-won nodded slowly. Yes, it is. Do you know what you've done? Jae-min's voice was getting louder. This is against every rule we have. You can't interfere with alien cultural practices. You can't keep abandoned offspring. I couldn't just let it die, Hae-won said. Look at it, Jae-min. It's just a baby. Jae-min stared at Bitna for a long moment. The hatchling made a small sound and stretched one tiny wing. For a second his expression softened, then he shook his head. I have to report this, he said. I'm sorry, but I have to. Within an hour the news had spread through the entire station. Hae-won was called to the commander's office. She walked through the halls as other workers stared at her. Some looked angry. Others looked scared. Commander Yunesio was a tall human woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She had been running Kepler Station for 8 years. She had seen many difficult situations, but this one was different. Sit down, Hae-won, she said in a quiet voice. Hae-won sat in the chair across from the commander's desk. She could see the stress on Yunesio's face. Tell me exactly what happened, the commander said. Hae-won told her everything. She explained how she found Bitna in the disposal bay. She described how sick the hatchling had been. She talked about the 3 days of secret care. Commander Yunesio listened without interrupting. When Hae-won finished, the commander was quiet for a long time. Do you understand what you've done? She finally asked. I saved a life, Hae-won said. You broke the most important law we have, Yunesio replied. The Galactic Council will hear about this within hours. They will demand justice. As if she had predicted it, the commander's communication device beeped. She answered it, and a hologram appeared in the air. It was Sujin, a human diplomat who worked with the Galactic Council. Sujin looked angry. Commander, I just received a priority message from the Drakmari embassy. They know about the hatchling. Ambassador Vothak is on his way to your station. How long do we have? Yunesio asked. 6 hours, Sujin said. And Commander, the Galactic Council is watching this very closely. Humans are still on probation in the galactic community. We cannot afford any mistakes. The hologram flickered off. Commander Yunesio looked at Hae-won with sad eyes. I have to place you under arrest, she said. I'm sorry, but I have no choice. 2 security officers came into the office. They were not human. One was a tall, blue-skinned Zealite. The other was a bird-like Aviran. They looked at Hae-won with cold expressions. Wait, Hae-won said. What about Bitna? What will happen to it? The hatchling will be disposed of properly, the Zealite officer said, according to Drakmari law. No, Hae-won stood up quickly. You can't kill it. It's healthy now. It's not sick anymore. That doesn't matter, the Aviran officer said. The law is the law. They put restraints on Hae-won's wrists and led her to a holding cell. As they walked through the station, she could see the other workers watching her. Some of the humans looked sympathetic, but the alien workers looked disgusted. In the medical bay, Dr. Tae-hyun was quietly gathering information. He was Hae-won's supervisor and had worked with her for 2 years. He knew she was a good nurse who cared about her patients. Tae-hyun had secretly gone to the storage room to examine Bitna. What he found amazed him. The hatchling was not just healthy. It was thriving in a way that should have been impossible. The flame sickness spots were completely gone. The creature's scales had a golden shine that he had never seen before. Its growth rate was much faster than normal. Most importantly, it showed signs of advanced intelligence. As Tae-hyun took readings with his medical scanner, Bitna watched him carefully. The hatchling seemed to understand what was happening. It made soft sounds that almost sounded like it was trying to communicate. What did she do to you, little one? Tae-hyun whispered. 6 hours later, Ambassador Vothak arrived at the station. He was a massive Drakmari, over 20 feet tall, with dark red scales and burning yellow eyes. His ship docked at the main port, and he strode through the station like he owned it. The other aliens on the station moved out of his way quickly. Even the security officers looked nervous. Drakmari were known for their fierce tempers and their strength. Vothak went straight to Commander Unesio's office. His voice was deep and angry. "Where is the human who dared to interfere with our sacred customs?" he demanded. "She is in custody," Unesio replied. "But Ambassador, perhaps we can discuss this calmly." "There is nothing to discuss," Vothak said. "The human violated our most sacred law. She touched a cursed hatchling. She must be punished." "What kind of punishment?" Unesio asked, though she was afraid to hear the answer. "Exile," Vothak said. "She will be sent to a prison planet, and the cursed hatchling will be destroyed immediately." Commander Unesio felt sick. She had to protect her crew, but she also knew that Haywan had only tried to help. The situation was getting worse by the hour. In her cell, Haywan sat on the small bed and stared at the wall. She could hear the other workers talking in the hallway. Many of them were angry with her. They said she had put the entire station at risk, but she did not regret what she had done. She had saved Bitna's life. That was worth any punishment. She just hoped someone would protect the little dragon after she was gone. Outside the station, more ships were arriving. The Galactic Council was sending representatives to witness the trial. The news was spreading across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to see how the human would be punished for her crime. None of them knew that this was just the beginning. None of them knew that far away, in the deepest parts of space, ancient eyes were watching. And those eyes were not pleased with what they saw. The real storm was still coming. The main conference room of Kepler Station had been turned into a courtroom. 12 representatives from the Galactic Council sat at a long table. Each one was from a different alien species. Their faces showed no emotion as they waited for the trial to begin. High Judge Kethmer was a tall, thin creature with purple skin and 4 arms. He was from the Zephyrian species and was known for following the law exactly. His voice was cold and formal. "We are here to judge the human called Haywan," he announced. "She is accused of violating cultural sovereignty and interfering with sacred practices." Haywan stood in the center of the room. Her hands were still in restraints. She looked small compared to all the alien judges around her, but her eyes were calm and steady. Ambassador Vothak sat to the right of the judges. His massive form filled 3 chairs. Steam came from his nostrils as he breathed. He wanted justice, and he wanted it now. "The charges are clear," Judge Kethmer continued. "A human took a cursed Drakmari hatchling and attempted to heal it. This goes against thousands of years of Drakmari tradition." Sujin, the human diplomat, stood up. She was Haywan's defense representative. "Your Honor," my client acted out of medical duty. She saw a dying creature and tried to help. "The creature was meant to die," Ambassador Vothak said in his deep voice. "It was cursed with the flame sickness. Our ancestors have always known that such creatures bring bad luck. But the creature is not dead." Came a new voice from the back of the room. Everyone turned to see Dr. Tehayan walking forward. He was carrying a data tablet and looked nervous but determined. "Doctor, you are not supposed to be here," Judge Kethmer said. "I have important medical evidence," Tehayan replied. "Evidence that changes everything." The judge thought for a moment. "You may present your evidence, but make it quick." Tehayan activated his tablet, and a hologram appeared above it. The hologram showed detailed medical scans of Bitna. "This is the hatchling that Nurse Haywan treated," he said. "As you can see, the flame sickness has been completely cured." The room became very quiet. Ambassador Vothak leaned forward, his eyes wide. "That is impossible," he said. "The flame sickness cannot be cured. It is a curse from the ancient gods." "With respect, Ambassador," Tehayan said, "it is not a curse. It is a genetic condition that affects the way scales grow. Nurse Haywan's treatment approach has not only cured the condition, but has caused unexpected improvements." The hologram changed to show Bitna's current state. The little dragon was now much larger than before. Its scales had a beautiful golden color that seemed to glow with inner light. The hatchling's growth rate has increased by 300%, Taehyung continued. Its intelligence levels are far above normal, and most importantly its scales now show this unique golden coloration. Yun, a human xenobiologist, stepped forward from the audience. She had been studying the medical data in secret. Your Honor, she said, I have been researching this case. Human medical philosophy is different from other species. We don't just treat symptoms, we try to understand the root cause of illness. Get to the point, Judge Kethmer said. The point is that what the Drakmari call flame sickness might not be a sickness at all. It might be the first stage of a natural evolution that their culture has been preventing for thousands of years. Ambassador Vothak stood up angrily. This is nonsense. You humans think you know better than our ancient wisdom. I don't think we know better, Haewon said quietly. I just couldn't watch a baby die. Her voice carried across the room, and several of the judges looked at her with interest. Tell us exactly what you did, Judge Kethmer said. Haewon took a deep breath. I found the hatchling in the disposal bay. It was barely alive. I used universal healing gel on its scales and gave it nutrient solution. I kept it warm and safe. I talked to it so it wouldn't be afraid. You talked to it? Asked Judge Valtar. A crystalline being from the Zelite species. Yes, Haewon said. I told it that it was going to be okay, that it was safe. That someone cared about it. And how did the creature respond? Judge Valtar asked. It listened, Haewon said simply. It seemed to understand. It got calmer when I spoke. Ambassador Vothak shook his head. This proves nothing. The human broke our laws. She must be punished. Actually, said a new voice, it proves everything. Everyone turned to see Commander Unesio entering the room. She was followed by 2 security officers who were carrying something covered by a blanket. Commander, this is highly irregular, Judge Kethmer said. I apologize, Your Honor, but I think you need to see this. The security officers set down their burden and removed the blanket. There was Bitna, now grown to the size of a large dog. The hatchling's golden scales shimmered in the light. Its eyes were bright and intelligent. The room fell silent. Even Ambassador Vothak stared in amazement. Bitna looked around the room calmly. Then it saw Haewon. The young dragon made a happy chirping sound and moved toward her. Stay back. Ambassador, Vothak shouted, that creature is dangerous. But Bitna ignored him. It walked up to Haewon and gently touched her leg with its snout. The hatchling's eyes looked up at her with obvious affection. Hello, little one, Haewon whispered. The Dashna made a sound that almost sounded like Haewon. Several of the judges gasped. It's trying to say her name, Judge Veltar said in wonder. Impossible, Ambassador Vothak said. Drakmari hatchlings cannot speak for months after hatching. This one can, Commander Unesio said. And it's been trying to communicate. Since yesterday? It seems to understand multiple languages. Dr. Taehyung stepped forward with his scanner. Your Honor, if I may demonstrate something, he activated a recording device. The sound of Haewon's voice filled the room from 3 days ago. You're going to be okay. You're safe now. I won't let anyone hurt you. Bitna's head turned toward the sound immediately. It made the same happy chirping noise and looked at Haewon with adoring eyes. The hatchling recognizes her voice, Dr. Taehyung explained. It has formed a deep emotional bond with its caregiver. This level of emotional intelligence is unprecedented in such a young Drakmari. This changes nothing, Ambassador Vothak said, but his voice was less certain now. The law is the law, but what if the law is wrong? Asked Judge Veltar. The other judges began to murmur among themselves. This was not what they had expected. Look at this creature, Judge Veltar continued. It is healthy, intelligent, and clearly capable of forming bonds. If this is what happens when flame sickness is treated instead of ignored, then perhaps the Drakmari have been making a mistake. You cannot judge our culture, Ambassador Vothak roared. We are not judging your culture, Judge Kethmer said carefully. But we must consider all evidence. Bitna, as if sensing the tension in the room, did something unexpected. It moved to the center of the room and sat down. Then it began to make a low, musical sound. The sound was beautiful, like a song without words. It seemed to calm everyone in the room. Even Ambassador Vothak stopped shouting and listened. "What is it doing?" Judge Kethmore asked. "It's singing," Dayan said in amazement. "I've read about this in old texts. Ancient Drakmari were said to have voices that could calm storms and heal hearts." The song continued for a full minute. When it ended, the room was completely silent. "The evidence is clear," Judge Kethmore said finally. "This human's actions have revealed something important about Drakmari biology. However, the law still stands. Cultural interference is forbidden." "Then I am guilty," Hayone said. "I interfered with Drakmari culture. I broke the law. But I saved a life, and I would do it again." "The sentence is exile to the prison planet Kefter," Judge Kethmore announced. Ambassador Vothak nodded with satisfaction, "and the cursed creature will be destroyed." "No," Hayone said firmly. "Please punish me, but don't hurt Bitna. It's innocent." As the guards moved to take Hayone away, Bitna stood up and moved to protect her. The young dragon spread its wings and made a warning sound. It was small, but its message was clear. It would not let anyone hurt its friend. "Even now it tries to protect her," Judge Veltar observed. "It doesn't matter," Judge Kethmore said. "The decision is made. Take them both away." As the guards reached for Hayone, every light in the station suddenly flickered. The communication systems began making strange noises. "Something was happening outside? What is that?" Commander Unesio asked. Before anyone could answer, the station's emergency alarm began to sound. A voice came over the intercom. "All personnel to stations. Multiple large ships approaching, unknown origin." Through the windows they could see lights in the distance, big lights. Getting closer, something was coming to Kepler Station. Something that would change everything. The emergency alarms filled Kepler Station with loud, wailing sounds. Red lights flashed in every hallway. People ran to their emergency stations as the voice on the intercom repeated the warning, "All personnel to stations. Multiple large ships. Approaching, unknown origin." In the courtroom, everyone stood frozen. Judge Kethmore looked confused. Ambassador Vothak's eyes were wide with something that looked like fear. "Commander," Unesio spoke into her communication device. "Captain Sinho, report. What exactly are we seeing out there?" Captain Sinho was the human officer in charge of the station's defenses. His voice came through the speaker and he sounded worried. "Commander, you need to see this. We have at least 50 ships approaching. They're huge. Bigger than anything in our database." "What species?" Commander Unesio asked. "That's the problem, Commander. The ships look alive. They're moving like living creatures, not machines." Everyone in the courtroom looked at each other with confusion. Living ships. That was impossible. Ambassador Vothak suddenly went very pale. His big hands began to shake. "No," he whispered. "It cannot be. What cannot be?" Judge Kethmore demanded. Before Vothak could answer, the lights in the station dimmed. Through the windows, they could see massive shadows moving past. The shadows were so big they blocked out the stars. "Commander," Captain Sungho's voice came again, "the lead ship is the size of a small moon. It's requesting permission to communicate." "Put it through," Commander Unesio said. The wall screen in the courtroom came to life. What appeared on the screen made everyone gasp. It was a Drakmari, but unlike any they had ever seen. This one was ancient beyond measure. Its scales were pure white with veins of gold running through them. Its eyes were deep blue, like looking into the ocean. When it spoke, its voice was old and wise. "I am Elder Kairathos of the Great Drakmari Armada," the ancient being said. "I request immediate audience with the human healer who awakened the golden flame." The room was completely silent. Ambassador Vothak dropped to his knees, his head bowed low. "Elder Kairathos," he whispered. "Forgive me, I did not know." "Rise, young ambassador," the elder said. "You are not at fault. You could not have known. What you were seeing," Judge Kethmore found his voice. Elder, we are honored by your presence. But I must ask, what is this golden flame you speak of? Elder Kyrethos turned her ancient eyes to look directly at Bitna. The young dragon had been quiet during the trial, but now it made a soft singing sound. There, the elder said. The golden flame sings. After 10,000 years it finally sings. I don't understand, Judge Kethmore said. The creature you call a cursed hatchling is no curse, Elder Kyrethos explained. It is the fulfillment of our oldest prophecy. The golden flame is the bridge between all species, the one who will bring peace to the galaxy. Ambassador Vothak looked up from his kneeling position. But Elder, the flame sickness is not a sickness, the elder interrupted. It is the mark of the chosen one. For thousands of years, our people have been throwing away our greatest gift because we forgot the old ways. Dr. Tehayan stepped forward. Elder, if I may ask, how were we supposed to know this? Elder Kyrethos looked at him with sad eyes. The prophecy said that only a being of pure compassion, untainted by species prejudice, could awaken the golden flame, someone who would help not for gain, but simply because it was right. All eyes turned to Haywan. She was still standing with her hands in restraints, looking confused. Me? She said. But I'm just a nurse. I saw a sick baby and tried to help. Exactly, Elder Kyrethos said. You did not think about laws or customs, or consequences. You saw suffering and acted to end it. That is the purest form of compassion. Captain Sunho's voice came through the speakers again. Commander, we're getting readings from the entire fleet. There are over 200 ships out there. Some of them are ... enormous. Through the windows, more ships became visible. They looked like giant dragons made of metal and living tissue. Their wings moved slowly as they flew through space. Lights pulsed along their bodies like heartbeats. This is the Great Armada, Elder Kyrethos explained. We have been waiting and watching for the golden flame for 10,000 years. When our sensors detected the awakening 3 days ago, we came as fast as we could. You've been watching us? Judge Kethmore asked. We have been watching all species, the elder replied, looking for the one who would show true compassion. The humans have shown this quality many times, but never as purely as this young healer. Commander Unesio stepped forward. Elder, with respect, what do you want from us? We want nothing, Elder Kyrethos said. We come to offer everything. The golden flame must be protected and honored. The human who awakened it must be celebrated, not punished. Ambassador Vothak was still on his knees. Elder, I accused the human of crimes. I demanded her punishment. I was wrong. You were not wrong, young one, the elder said gently. You followed the laws as you understood them. But the old laws were made in ignorance. Now we know better. Bitna made another singing sound. This time it was louder and more complex. The sound seemed to fill the entire station. It's growing. Stronger, Diyun observed. The singing is more powerful than before. The golden flame responds to love and protection, Elder Kyrethos explained. The more it is cared for, the more powerful it becomes. In time, it will be able to communicate with all species, heal old wounds between peoples, and bring peace where there was war. Judge Kethmore looked around the room helplessly. Elder, we have laws, procedures. The human broke our rules about cultural interference. Your laws are wise, the elder agreed. But sometimes wisdom must be balanced with compassion. The human broke your law, yes. But in doing so, she fulfilled a prophecy that is older than your entire civilization. The wall screen flickered and more Drakmari faces appeared. These were other elders from the Armada. They all looked ancient and wise. We, the Elder Council, formally request that all charges against the human healer be dropped, Elder Kyrethos announced. In return, we offer the friendship and protection of the Drakmari people. Judge Kethmore looked at the other council members. They were all whispering to each other in different alien languages. The situation had become much bigger than anyone expected. This is unprecedented, Judge Kethmore said finally. I need to consult with the full Galactic Council. You may consult, Elder Kyrethos said. But know that the Great Armada will remain here until this matter is resolved fairly. The Golden Flame and its Awakener are under our protection now." Captain Sung-ho's voice came through the speakers one more time. "Commander, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the fleet. They're not threatening us, but if they wanted to, they could destroy this entire star system." The message was clear. The Drakmari were not asking. They were demanding justice for Haewon and protection for Bit-Na-Datsu-Jin. The human diplomat looked pale. "This could start a war," she whispered. "Or it could start a new age of peace," Elder Kyrathos said, having heard her. "That choice is yours to make." Bit-Na walked over to Haewon and rubbed against her leg. The young dragon's golden scales were glowing brighter now. It looked up at her with eyes full of love and trust. "What happens now?" Haewon asked. "Now," Elder Kyrathos said, "we wait to see if the galaxy is ready for the truth about compassion and its power." Outside the station, the Great Armada waited in perfect formation. 200 dragon ships, each one capable of destroying planets, floating silently in space. They had come not for war, but for justice. The trial had become something much bigger. The fate of human-alien relations now hung in the balance. And at the center of it all was one nurse who had simply refused to let a baby die. The galaxy would never be the same. Elder Kyrathos moved closer to the wall screen, her ancient eyes studying everyone in the courtroom. The silence was heavy as the most powerful beings in the galaxy waited for her next words. "I must tell you a story," the elder began. "A story that our people have kept secret for 10,000 years. Judge Kethmore sat down slowly. "We are listening, Elder." "Long ago, when the galaxy was young and full of war, our ancestors received a vision. They saw a time when all species would live in peace. But this peace could only come through the Golden Flame." Bit-Na made a soft sound and moved closer to Haewon. The young dragon seemed to understand that the story was about it. The vision showed that the Golden Flame would be born with marks that looked like sickness. It would be rejected by its own people and left to die. But then a being from another species would save it. This being would have a heart so pure that they would help without thinking of reward or punishment. Iyun stepped forward, her eyes wide with understanding. "That's why the flame sickness couldn't be cured by Drakmari medicine. You weren't supposed to cure it. You were supposed to abandon the hatchlings so that someone else could find them." Elder Kyrathos nodded sadly. "Yes, but we lost faith. As the centuries passed, fewer and fewer of our people believed in the old prophecies. We began to see the marked hatchlings as truly cursed. We forgot that we were supposed to let them go." Ambassador Vothak looked up from where he was still kneeling. "Elder, I have abandoned 3 marked hatchlings in my lifetime. I thought I was protecting our people." "You were doing what you believed was right," the elder said gently. "But those hatchlings died alone because no one with a pure heart found them in time." One felt tears in her eyes. 3 babies died because no one helped them. "More than 3, Elder Kyrathos said. "Hundreds over the centuries. We have been waiting so long for someone like you." In-young, a human linguist who had been quietly watching, suddenly spoke up. "Elder, may I ask you something?" "Of course, young scholar. I study alien languages and cultures. In my research, I've found similar stories in many different species. Folklore, stories about a healer who would come from the stars to bring peace." Elder Kyrathos smiled for the first time. "What stories have you found?" In-young pulled out her datapad and began to read. "The Zelites have a prophecy about the Crystal Heart, who would heal the wounds between worlds. The Avrons speak of the Song-Bringer, who would teach all species to sing in harmony. The Zephyrians tell of the Peace Walker, who would end all wars. And what do all these beings have in common?" The elder asked. In-young thought for a moment. They all help others without asking for anything in return. They put compassion before everything else." "Exactly," Elder Kyrathos said. "Every species in the galaxy has been waiting for the same thing. A people who would help not for gain, but simply because helping is right." Judge Kethmore looked confused. "Are you saying that humans are this prophesied species?" "Not all humans. the elder replied. But humans have the capacity for pure compassion more than any species we have observed. You have a saying, do you? Not? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Commander Unesio nodded. The Golden Rule, it's one of our oldest moral teachings. Many species have rules about helping their own kind, Elder Kyrathos continued. But humans are unique. You help strangers, you help enemies. You even help creatures that cannot help you back. Dr. Tehayan spoke up, but, Elder, humans fight wars too. We're not perfect. No species is perfect, the elder agreed. But when humans see suffering, their first instinct is to help. Other species think first of cost or rules or consequences. Humans think first of ending the pain. Bitna suddenly stood up and walked to the center of the room. The young dragon began to glow with a soft golden light. Its scales shimmered like liquid gold. The golden flame recognizes the truth, Elder Kyrathos said. It knows its purpose now. The dragon began to sing again, but this time the song was different. It was more complex, more beautiful. The sound seemed to touch something deep in everyone's heart. What is it doing? Judge Veltar asked, his crystalline body resonating with the song. It is calling to its siblings, the elder explained. All across the galaxy, there are others with the potential to become golden flames. Haywan's compassion has awakened not just one, but the possibility of many. The song continued for several minutes. When it ended, Captain Sungho's voice came through the speakers. Commander, we're receiving signals from multiple star systems. Ships are launching from dozens of different worlds. They're all heading in different directions, but they seem to be following some kind of pattern. They are going to find the abandoned ones, Elder Kyrathos said. Bitna's call has told them where to look. Sujin, the human diplomat, looked worried. Elder, what does this mean for the galaxy? For human-alien relations? It means everything is about to change, the elder replied. For too long, the galaxy has been divided by fear and mistrust. Each species kept to itself, worried about being hurt by others. And now? Judge Kethmore asked. Now we have proof that compassion can bridge any gap. The golden flame exists because a human chose love over law, healing over harm. Ambassador Vothak finally stood up. Elder, what must I do to make up for my mistakes? Learn, the elder said simply. Teach your people that the old fears were wrong. Help them understand that being different is not the same as being dangerous. Hey, one looked down at Bitna, who had returned to her side. What happens to us now? Elder Kyrathos smiled again. That is up to you, young healer. The golden flame has bonded with you. Where you go, it will follow. What you choose to do with this gift will shape the future. I don't want to shape the future, Haywan said. I just want to help sick people get better. And that, the elder said, is exactly why you are perfect for this role. Judge Kethmore stood up. Elder, the Galactic Council will need time to process all of this information. These revelations change everything we thought we knew. Take the time you need, Elder Kyrathos said. But know that the universe will not wait forever. The golden flames are awakening. The age of isolation is ending. Through the windows, they could see more ships arriving. Not warships, but medical vessels, research ships, and diplomatic cruisers. Representatives from dozens of species were coming to see the golden flame for themselves. Word is spreading fast, Commander Unesio observed. As it should, the elder said. This is the beginning of a new age. An age where species work together instead of apart. An age where compassion matters more than conquest. Bidna made a happy chirping sound and nuzzled against Haywan's hand. The young dragon's eyes were bright with intelligence and love. The golden flame is ready, Elder Kyrathos announced. The question is the galaxy ready for the golden flame? As if in answer to her question, the communication system activated. Messages were coming in from all across the galaxy. Hundreds of species were requesting permission to send delegations to Kepler Station. Everyone wanted to see the miracle for themselves. Everyone wanted to meet the human who had started it all. With one simple act of kindness, the trial was over, but the real test was just beginning. Could the galaxy learn to put compassion before fear? Could different species truly work together? The answer would depend on what happened in the next few hours. The future of galactic civilization hung in the balance, and at the center of it all was a nurse who had simply refused to let a baby die. History was about to be made. 3 hours had passed since Elder Karathos revealed the truth about the Golden Flame prophecy. Kepler Station was now surrounded by hundreds of ships from every corner of the galaxy. Each species wanted to witness history being made. In the main conference room, representatives from 50 different worlds sat together. For the first time in galactic history, so many species were gathered in one place peacefully. Judge Kethmore called for order. "We are here to make a decision that will affect every living being in the galaxy," he announced. "The evidence is clear. The human called Haywan has fulfilled an ancient prophecy by awakening the Golden Flame." Dr. Wu Jin, a human anthropologist who had arrived on one of the diplomatic ships, stood up to speak. She had spent her life studying how different species interacted with each other. "Honored representatives," she began, "I have studied this situation carefully. What happened here is not an accident. It represents something fundamental about human nature." "Explain," said Representative Zarthik of the Corellian Empire. "Throughout human history, our species has consistently chosen compassion over convenience." Dr. Wu Jin said, "We have a saying, 'No one left behind.' When we see suffering, we act to end it, even when it costs us." "All species help their own kind," argued Representative Velanara of the Hegemony. "Yes, but humans help everyone," Dr. Wu Jin replied. "We have rescued enemies in battle. We have fed people who could never repay us. We have risked our lives for creatures we had never seen before." She activated a holographic display showing images from human history, pictures of humans helping aliens, sharing resources, teaching skills to other species. "When humans first joined the galactic community, you thought we were naive," she continued. "You called us soft and emotional. You put us on probation because you thought we would cause trouble." Many of the alien representatives looked uncomfortable. They remembered those early days. "But we haven't caused trouble," Dr. Wu Jin said. "In every conflict, humans have tried to find peaceful solutions. In every crisis, we have offered help before asking for payment. We joined the galactic community not to take, but to give." Elder Kyrathus spoke from the main screen. "This is why the prophecy spoke of your species. Only beings who help others, without expecting reward, could awaken the Golden Flame." Ambassador Vothak stood up. He looked ashamed but determined. "Elders, fellow representatives, I must speak. 3 days ago, I demanded punishment for the human healer. I was wrong. I let old fears cloud my judgment." "You were following your culture's laws," Judge Kethmer said. "No," Vothak replied. "I was following my culture's fears. There is a difference. Laws should protect people, not prevent compassion." He turned to look at Hay-1, who was sitting quietly with Bitna by her side. "Human healer, I formally apologize." "You showed greater wisdom than I did." Hay-1 stood up. "Ambassador, you don't need to apologize. You were protecting your people, the only way you knew how." "This is exactly what I mean," Dr. Wu Jin said to the assembled representatives. "Even now, when she has every right to be angry, she chooses understanding over anger." Bitna suddenly stood up and began to glow. The young dragon's golden scales were brighter than ever before. It walked to the center of the room and began to sing, but this time, something amazing happened. As Bitna sang, the representatives from different species began to understand each other more clearly. The barriers of language and culture seemed to fade away. "I can feel what you feel," whispered Representative Velanara in wonder. "The pain of old wounds is healing," said Representative Zarthik. "This is the true power of the Golden Flame, Elder," Kyrathos explained. "It does not just bring peace through force. It brings peace through understanding." The song continued for several minutes. When it ended, the room was filled with a sense of calm that none of them had ever experienced. Judge Kethmer wiped tears from his eyes. "I have lived for 200 years," he said. "I have never felt such perfect peace." This is what the galaxy could be like, Elder Kyrathos said. If we choose cooperation over conflict. If we choose trust over fear, Commander Unesio stepped forward. Elder, what exactly are you proposing? We propose the creation of the Interspecies Healing Initiative, the Elder replied. Medical centers throughout the galaxy where all species can come for help. Centers run by humans, because you understand that healing is about more than just medicine. It's about caring, Haywan said quietly. Making people feel safe and loved while they get better. Exactly, Elder Karethos agreed. And we propose that Haywan be the first interspecies healing coordinator. Me? Hey, one looked surprised, but I'm just a nurse. You are the nurse who started a revolution with one act of kindness, the Elder said. You are exactly who we need. Judge Kethmore called for a vote. All in favor of dropping the charges against the human Haywan? Every hand in the room went up. The vote was unanimous. All in favor of establishing the Interspecies Healing Initiative? Again, every hand went up. Then it is decided, Judge Kethmore announced. Hey, one is free, and humanity will lead the galaxy into a new age of cooperation. The room erupted in cheers from dozens of different species. For the first time in galactic history, they were all celebrating the same thing. 6 months later, the first Interspecies Healing Center opened on Kepler Station. Commander Unesio had been promoted to lead the entire program. The center was always busy with patients from across the galaxy. Haywan worked there every day, along with Bitna, who had grown into a magnificent golden dragon. The two of them moved through the wards together, bringing healing and comfort to anyone who needed it. In the children's ward, a young human boy named Minho was playing with alien children from a dozen different worlds. They were building a tower together, each child adding pieces from their own culture. Look, Nurse Haywan, Minho called out. We're making it reach the stars. Haywan smiled as she watched them play. The children didn't see differences between species. They just saw friends. That's beautiful, she said. It's just like you're all beautiful. Bitna sang a soft, happy song. The sound made all the children giggle and the adult patients smile. Dr. Tae-Hyon approached with a medical report. The success rate here is amazing, he said. Patients heal 50% faster than in traditional facilities. It's because they feel loved, one explained. When people know that someone cares about them, their bodies heal better. Through the windows, they could see ships from hundreds of worlds coming and going. Delegates, medical students, and patients all traveled to learn from the human approach to healing. Do you ever regret it? Dr. Tae-Hyon asked. Your life is so different now. One looked around the ward. She saw beings from dozens of species working together, helping each other, learning from each other. She saw children playing without fear. She saw hope where there had once been suspicion. No, she said, I don't regret anything. Bitna nuzzled against her hand and made a contented sound. The dragon's eyes sparkled with intelligence and love. Besides, Haywan added, I'm still doing what I've always done. I'm just helping sick people get better. The only difference is that now the whole galaxy is your patient, Dr. Tae-Hyon said with a smile. As the day ended, Haywan stood at the observation deck with Bitna. They watched the stars together, just as they had done every night for 6 months. You know what, Bitna? She said to her dragon friend. I think we're going to be okay. Bitna sang a gentle lullaby that seemed to reach across space to touch every world, every heart, every soul that had ever needed healing. The galaxy was no longer a collection of suspicious strangers. It was a family, united by the simple truth that kindness was the most powerful force in the universe, and it had all started with one nurse who refused to let a baby die alone. In the end, that was enough to change everything.